Hi, Scribe.
Oh, National Association of Independent Schools, I just can't seem to quit you. I feel an almost supernatural pull toward your consistent insidiousness. Building a community of inclusion. That doesn't sound at all creepy.
At Lowell, our mission is based in inclusion.
Your mission at your school is based in inclusion. All right? Got it.
And so when we think about our hiring process, we first start and reference the mission of our school.
You reference your mission in your hiring process, and your mission is inclusion. Got it.
And from there, the process that we've built then moves into putting together a committee of different representatives in the community that bring forward different identities and different perspectives.
Wait a second. In order to hire someone to work at your school, you create a committee of people from the community, people who represent different perspectives and identities. Now, you might think, as I initially did, that when our speaker says community, he's talking about people who, I don't know, live nearby in the neighborhood. Well, no. He's talking about the school's faculty and staff. The people who work at this school are the community. And so from the faculty and staff, he's going to select people to be on a committee who represent perspectives and identities. Got it? Got it.
We then together have a little bit of a homework assignment where we engage ourselves individually in different articles around bias and around legal questioning.
In order to conduct the hiring process, you form a committee of people working at your school to self-interrogate over bias and legal questioning? What the heck does that mean? And what the heck does any of this have to do with hiring someone for a job at your school? It sounds more like a self-imposed guilt trip upon your staff and faculty.
And then we come together as a committee to talk about the role that we are searching for and to talk about the bias that may exist within each of us as we perceive that role.
Wait a second. You don't even know what job you're hiring for until after you and your committee go through a period of self-imposed second-guessing on bias. Bias over a job you haven't even defined yet.
We then develop a rubric around how we're going to engage the job description, holding each other accountable to the biases that may have been named at the start of that process.
How exactly do you hold yourselves accountable? Is there some penance to perform if someone in the committee is deemed to possess a previously named bias? Are there punishments for thought crime at your school? And if so, what are they? And all of this is just preamble to writing out a job description for a job that didn't exist until after you formed a committee. A committee of identities chosen from the community. Am I getting this right?
We then think about individuals that have applied the identities that they're bringing with them, and we think about really what's reflected in our community and what do our students need to be able to engage with and see.
You think about the individuals who have applied bringing the identities they have with them. What? And then you need to decide what your students need to engage with and see. So, does an applicant's skills and experience even matter? If they don't possess the required aesthetics for your taste, do you reject them from the hiring pool? Okay, well, let's even set that aside. Does the job you're looking to fill even matter? Because creating a position in your school out of whole cloth is sounding like nothing more than an excuse to further indoctrinate your staff into a shame session over presumed bias and further the identitarianism philosophy in your school. Or am I missing something?
That then leads into a process that includes multiple rounds where people first come and interview with the committee, then further interview with the full community, and then finally leading us to making the decision where we make a recommendation to our head of school.
The applicant goes through several rounds of interviews with the committee, the anti-bias committee, and then they interview with the whole community, i.e. the faculty and the staff, before you even approach the head of the school about the applicant. The applicant for the job that didn't exist prior to forming the anti-bias committee. Got it? How do you make sure you are building new faculty into the inclusive community? Building new faculty. Like they're bricks in a wall or something. And yeah, insert Pink Floyd riff here, if I didn't fear getting a copyright strike. But yes, how do you take this bias committee filtered and whole faculty vetted candidate and then build them into your inclusive community? An inclusive community that sure has a lot of strings attached for entry, I have to say.
New to Lowell is our orientation process at the school, and we refer to our newest members as noodles at Lowell.
You call your new staff noodles. Got it.
And as the noodles go through their orientation program, there's a full day designed around equity and inclusion and what it means to engage with the mission of our school.
So, the several grilling sessions by your anti-bias committee and the community hasn't already given them an idea of what equity and inclusion means at your school? Well, I would love to know what else goes on during that first orientation day.
Sometimes when new faculty arrive to our campus, they may be introduced to new identities for the first time.
Well, anyone they did not know before arriving will be someone new they're meeting for the first time. Oh, but you didn't say anyone. You said identities. Identities they were not familiar with before they arrived. And as we know, identities does not refer to people. Because people are not people. They're not individuals. They are identities. It is ridiculously creepy just how casually our speaker dehumanizes people.
And so to have a safe space to come together with fellow colleagues and with administration to have those conversations is very helpful in building their sense of an understanding of inclusion at the school.
You need to create a safe space to have conversations over the identities a new staff member may encounter in order to build inclusion. So, wait, you need to set aside an area where you can have a conversation with the new faculty member to make sure that they're okay with the kinds of people that they're meeting for the first time? As if anyone you're bringing into this school is suddenly going to be, I don't know, xenophobic over a race or an ethnicity or a gender or an orientation that they've never been in the same room with. Does this make any sense to anyone? What does this work model for students? What does this work model for students? Well, if I'm not going too far out on a limb here, I'd say it models for them the idea that they need to value things in people that have nothing to do with who they are, but simply what they are. But maybe I'm just off in La La Land.
I think of a child that once upon a time where they were visiting my office just a little too often. And over time, I started to realize there was an intention about them trying to get to my office. And at the time, they had a lot of questions around gender and around identity.
I cannot possibly imagine why a student at your school in the kindergarten to middle school range would be questioning their gender and or their identity. It would be truly a mystery.
And they would make different comments about my schedule, about my day, about my dress, about the way that I would present myself from a place of curiosity, from a place of interest.
What makes you so special in this scenario again?
And I think if we really know our students and we really offer spaces for our students to have that kind of relationship and that kind of connection, it allows them to feel that sense of inclusion when they might just be asking questions, right?
Right?
They might just be trying to have a better understanding of the world around them.
Okay, I have no idea what that last anecdote was trying to say or how it relates to the rest of the piece. Letting kids ask questions. How revolutionary. So, just for everyone's edification, this school doesn't reside in a community. It is a community. It is a walled-in community set away from the rest of civilization. I wonder if they wear yellow cloaks to scare off the monster in the woods. The Lowell School is an exclusive private school in an expensive Washington, D.C. suburb covering kindergarten through 8th grade, situated inside by, what all accounts, is a castle. And depending on the age of a student, tuition there runs from nearly $20,000 to $40,000 per year. And for this annual fortune, parents can trust that those responsible for teaching their children have all gone through the most rigorous and bizarre of ideological hazing rituals. A thorough regimen of bias inquisition and identity politics, giving weight or fault to someone on the basis of whether they are someone the students need to see. Because their mission is inclusion.
At Lowell, our mission is based in inclusion.
Like our speaker, who is very, very aware of his own identity. As in this school blog post from 2017. Let's read some excerpts. As a white male charged with the important position of school division director, that's kind of ironic, school division director, I am always engaged with and looking for different avenues to use my own privilege and positional power to impact positive change, honor and uphold individuality, and bring about equity and justice in education and beyond. I can remember a conversation I had with 2 of my faculty members in the fall of this past school year in which I challenged them to do the same. They had both approached me about attending a specific professional development experience that they were truly passionate and excited about. After a wonderful conversation together, and acknowledging that this would be the 3rd or 4th professional development these 2 would engage in related to diversity and inclusion work, I charged them to find an outlet where they could put their skills and newly acquired understandings to the test in the form of action. Power, Privilege, and Practice, the Symposium. This past school year also brought forward an important endeavor in my own work in independent schools. I was approached by Chrissy Caceres, Assistant Head of School for Equity and Social Impact at Georgetown Day School. For several years, Chrissy had envisioned an in-depth learning experience for white educators, led by white educators that had, at the core, connection, reflection, complexity, bravery, and individual and collaborative action. Chrissy was interested in having me develop and co-facilitate a multi-day symposium that would be open to a regional audience and would evolve to attract a national audience. My co-facilitator would be Peg Schultz, Chair of Physical Education and Health for the lower and middle schools at GDS, who has been a lifelong learner and action agent for social justice. Peg and I met and developed a strong partnership a few years ago while working as facilitators for the White Affinity Group at the National Association of Independent Schools People of Color Conference. Over the course of a year, we met on a regular basis, and together we developed a curriculum designed to explore, examine, and employ the complexities of what it means to be a white educator in our independent schools. We also developed a set of best practices to honor and uphold our mission as equity and social justice educators in our mutual school communities. This work, for which I have a great deal of passion, connection, and care, would be sure to drive action and change in others, and thus Peg and I plunged into the opportunity. We dove into reviewing and creating various resources, supports, systemic practices, and structures to build a model for a cohort of fellow educators. Within a few months, Power, Privilege, and Practice, Unpacking Our White Selves, a summer symposium, was born. We were joyful to learn that not only would our inaugural cohort include many local educators, it would also include members from various parts of the country. Web of Privilege activity. The framework Peg and I constructed for the Web of Privilege activity involved acknowledging multiple statements related to the experience of white privilege, including phrases like, "I have a network of people I can access for career information or advancement." "My immediate family is white." "I grew up in a white suburban community." Our participants decided which phrases spoke directly to their own personal experience. Using white yarn, we began by making connections, and the web of connected experiences grew from a few strands to hundreds of strands within a room of 24 participants. Look at that. Look at all of those grown adults playing a game with string as a confessional of the inherent sin of their skin color. All of them being forced to publicly admit their inherent guilt in front of the community. Yes, for $20,000 to $40,000 a year, and if you can afford to live in suburban DC, you too can send your child to a collective of guilt-ridden, bias-centric identitarians eager to teach your children to question their gender and their identity. I am certain that nothing but positivity and prosperity can result from a childhood marinating in that kind of an education. As always, thank you for watching.